Murison, over the last 6 years since being elected in 2019, I've been fighting against a proposal for an aggregate quarry in Hamble, in my constituency down Hamble Lane, which was recently given permission on appeal by the Planning Inspectorate. And what I want to try and get over to the Minister this morning in the 4 minutes that I have is that the planning system is fractured, disjointed and weighted against local communities and doesn't take into account the true nature of quarries or the stuff that they produce. It doesn't take into account air quality, it doesn't take into account water runoff that will go into the River Hamble, and the Planning Inspectorate are also culpable in not looking at regulations set down by locally elected planning authorities, where actually it's acknowledged in my case that highways, the local highway Hamble Lane, the one lane in and out which 200 lorries a day will have to go on, is already recognised within local planning authority notices that it's already oversaturated and at capacity, and yet the Minerals and Waste Authority have granted this permission. We have a process in Hamble that I think has been slightly strange, and therefore I just want to outline that briefly. And as I say, Dr Murison, 200 lorries a day, a lack of consultation by CEMEX, who are proposing this quarry, and I will go as far as to say that CEMEX are cowboys and bullies of local communities without any physical consultation to people during COVID. They have not had a single physical consultation exercise. They treat the community with utter disdain, and they treat the planning process as one of their personal toys that they can afford to challenge and manufacture, and I think the Minister needs to be aware of that. In Hamble, this proposed quarry is being proposed 50 metres from a primary school and 100 metres from a secondary school. That wasn't taken into account at all by the planning system. And highways data, in my case, shows physical highways data wasn't taken account of since COVID, where since then we have had hundreds of houses built on Hamble Lane, and that wasn't taken into account. But what is more concerning is that the Regulatory Committee of the Waste and Minerals Authority actually refused this quarry, and at the point at which 300 of my constituents turned up to attend that final meeting, the Highways and Minerals and Highways Authority chose not to defend the reasons for refusal of democratically elected councillors without telling a single person in the community or myself. That then meant it went to an appeal, where my local residents group, the Hamble Peninsula Residents Group, have done a fantastic job in raising funds to defend the appeal. But it was based on flawed data, and nowhere in my 6 years, and nowhere within my local councillors, where I've been working very, very closely with the Liberal Democrat administration on Eastleigh Borough Council, nowhere have they been consulted, and that is not good enough. I will give way briefly.
I thank the honourable member for giving way. His situation sounds very familiar to me. In my Newton Abbot constituency in the middle of King's Stainton, we have a large clay mine, a clay quarry, where they are trying to extend their permission for mining zither-ixen. Even though it's been established for some 300 years and planning permissions are somewhat ancient, does the member agree with me that however they are permitted, whether it be by appeal or by planning of some time ago, they must be held to the most modern standards and the best possible environmental and residential standards for the people around them?
I thank the object, but he's absolutely correct. And his situation sounds very similar to me, but I say to the Minister, who I don't blame in this because she's inherited a system that's been here for decades, but what confidence can local people have in maintaining the high standards which are not there within the guidance? What confidence can local people have on challenging the impacts of their quarries if the democratic body that wanted to refuse permission in the first place is overturned by an unelected inspector and pulled the rug on by officers of the authority that refused permission in the first place? So I would ask the Minister, in the very short time that I have after that intervention, that will she commit to meet with me to discuss the circumstances of this case? There is a clear democratic deficit in the way in which this has been granted. This was handled by officers who superseded locally elected councillors. We are going to seek a statutory review, but again, that's now at the cost of the local community. That is not good for local people. They feel absolutely let down across the country and not in Hamble, and I'd be grateful if the Minister could commit to meet with me in the coming months to discuss this case specifically. Thank you.